Hey, how's it going? I'm Michael. I'm with the Office of Career and Student Development. We're here to talk with Dr. Susie Cox today with the College of Business. And we're going to get a little into her background and how she got here. But we're going to talk today about internships and the value for internships for both employers and students, and a little bit more into the weeds, hopefully, about internships as a whole. This is going to be the beginning of our employer education series, so that people can really understand the value of experiential learning, because that's what internships are. They're a time for a student to go and get experience. But without further ado, Dr. Susie Cox, how are you?
Doing well, doing well.
Well, I know that everyone would love to know a little bit about yourself, what you do as Associate Dean in the College of Business and Social Sciences here at the University of Louisiana Monroe.
So I'm a native of South Louisiana and ended up in Northeast Louisiana. You know how that happens. You meet a boy and then you end up, so now I call Northeast Louisiana my home. In 2019, I was given the opportunity to return to Northeast Louisiana. I was working in Little Rock, and Dean Berry, now President Berry, had an opening for a director for the School of Management.
He was the Dean for College of Business and
Correct.
Social Sciences. Gotcha.
Correct. And so I applied for the position and was happy to come home, and felt like joining family. And then when he promoted to president, there was a little shift in the college, of course, and I became associate dean at that time. So in the role of associate dean, I really primarily help students that may have any concerns or issues with registration, or a class may have been dropped, any student issues. I'm there to help with students out. We want them to have the best experience possible. And I also am the director for the MBA program.
Wow.
So I work with all of our MBA students, and we have a little over 100 MBA students.
We're going to talk about that. I can tell you, I've been looking at getting an MBA myself.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, in particular to this, I guess, this subject that we're going to kind of dive into, what do you do with the internships here at the college?
So for internships, that's another hat I wear. So when you're an associate dean at any college, you'll wear several different hats, but I oversee our Business 4061 course for students that are seeking credit for their internship. Not all students choose to get academic credit when they do an internship, but some will. And especially our international students, because then they're eligible for their CPT. And that way they can work and complete an internship in the area that they're majoring.
Do you know of any degrees within the College of Business and Social Sciences that you have to get an internship to graduate?
So our gerontology programs typically do internships. Our social work do some type of internship. And I'm using the term internship pretty broadly. Right. Just working in your area to gain that experience before you enter the profession.
Well, and that's a perfect leeway, or I guess segue into where we should start this conversation. You said for class credit, internships for class credit. So employers can have internships that don't count as class credit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, most of our internships are paid internships. Only a few nonprofits will offer an unpaid internship.
Gotcha.
So our students have that opportunity to make a little extra money and get some real world experience. And most of our students do work, but it's those that are working in the area they're going to pursue their profession.
Well, and see, I guess, this is an employer education series. Students can gain value from that too, though. They really can understand that, it's a reality that some students have to make money, but you can do it strategically while you're here, right? You don't have to just go and bust tables. You don't have to just go, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you don't have to just go and work and go to school. You can start to really leverage the off time, right, from classes into gainful experience that's going to put you one step ahead of the next person that's getting your degree.
Right. So often, if a student's majoring in business administration, they're not quite sure what they want to do. An internship is a perfect opportunity for that. And what I always encourage them to do is find an internship in the industry they're interested in. So when you're talking about bussing tables, well, if they're interested in opening a restaurant, then finding an internship where they may bus tables, but they're also getting to see the backside and the operations, they're gaining great experience.
So, we say it's for students, but it's also for employers, right? There is a massive conversation going around workforce needs, especially in the area, but really across the nation. It's, there is a workforce shortage, and how do we gain and retain great talent? And one thing that I have been pushing, and I really have a strong passion for, is the term "nobody wants to work anymore" is it's a little dismissive, and it doesn't really encapsulate the whole problem, which is if you can tie somebody with something they really love to do, they do want to work, and so giving them that experience is so gainful for the student, but it's also gainful for the employer. So I would say, like, this idea of a safe space, right? Like, whenever you go out into a job market and you're going to as a talent acquisition person, and you're interviewing people over and over again, you don't always get to see the full them, right? But in an internship, so talk on that a little bit.
So benefits for employers, right?
Yeah,
that's
just
what we're
in
looking.
general.
It gives you a chance to do a 3-6 month interview.
Yeah.
Because how do you really know the strengths of an individual in 30 minutes when you're doing such a brief interview? You really get to see what these students are made of. I think there's 2 ways you can acquire your employers. You can buy the talent, or you can build the talent. And when you have an internship program, you're working on building that talent. And we know how important organizational culture is, and that you can instill that organizational culture and really, build a great team when you use interns to bring people in.
That's great. Building a culture that's, really tied into what you do.
Correct. Yes.
So that is definitely a benefit for employers. So we've got, building out a talent pipeline, exposing the workforce. What about mentorship, right? Like, these students, some of them know what they want to do, some of them don't. What is the role of a I guess, employer or a manager that's over an internship as a mentor?
We think about how to build a good internship program from an employer's standpoint. And so you want to make sure that you're offering some of that mentoring, realizing that the students aren't going to come to you with all the soft skills and technical knowledge that you need. That takes time to grow, right? So you want to think about how can you mentor them? What experiences can you give them? It may not be a formal internship where you're saying 2 weeks we work in unit A, 2 weeks we work in unit B, but you want to make sure you have that mixture of experiences to expose them to see what really drives their passion. You were talking about if you want to keep them, right? Inspire them. And so have broad exposures for them, for your interns, and realizing that it is a mentoring process, and that we have to go back and think where we started. And understand that
I try not to.
It takes time to build, right? The professional that they'll one day be. But that's like so valuable and it to you when you're able to mentor and see them grow and become that professional.
It's fun, It's
absolutely,
fun,
absolutely.
Watching them break their uncomfortable, or their comforts, and getting into stuff that's uncomfortable.
Right. So you want challenges.
Right. Well, and it's again, you're speaking to a much broader topic, which is skills transparency. What skills are they gaining in universities? And whenever you can take a student, a junior or a sophomore or even a senior, and test them in the field, you're getting to see the skills they're gaining. Right.
Right.
I don't know. It all seems so simple whenever you look at it in that view. So, brass tacks. If an employer really needs a College of Business student or social work student or social sciences, who do they come to at the beginning, and then how do you help them form that if you can?
So. Several paths, right? Several paths. Often we have wonderful program coordinators in each one of our majors, and often they have developed those relationships with industry, and so you'll come with that to that program coordinator.
Correct.
Okay, if for some reason you need it for student credit, I have a student that's doing an internship and it's paid for by a grant. And part of that grant says they must be earning college credit. I'm the person, okay? Come to me, we'll work on getting the right student for you. And I'll be reaching out to the program coordinators because they know those students. But for anyone who says, I'm interested in a business or a social science intern, they can start with the dean's office. I'm in the dean's office, give me a call, and I'm going to direct you to that program coordinator.
Perfect.
Because we want to see that match.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll use the Career Center when we need that extra help there.
Newly made in the Office of Career and Student Development, and we are the career development side. Yeah, that's great. So that's something that I think we should plug in here, which is, so as Michael, the employer relations person, as myself as the employer relations person, we start with an assessment, right? And so like if you're not sure if you fit into the College of Business and Social Sciences automatically, or if you have, a lot of our realities in our workplaces has many hats and many different fields, we can help you kind of assess where you are at and what industries align best with what degrees. And then we will bring in, of course, anybody across campus that would help us inform, that conversation. So there's that. Now, you say for credit, not for credit. What are some of the hallmarks of a for-credit internship, right? Do they have to meet certain requirements? How does that work? Is that too deep?
So for the business 4061, so
Sure.
any of our traditional business majors, it is 300 hours over the 15-week semester.
Wow.
So you're thinking about 20 hours a week. And they will work with me to do some reporting during that time. And we also ask for supervisors to evaluate their work. And then they receive either credit or no credit. So it's not a letter grade.
Gotcha.
They also write a reflections paper at the end about what they learned and how they benefited from this experience.
Cool. Is there any evaluation? So there was evaluation from the employer.
There is.
Do y'all offer like the template for evaluating, or is it on the employer?
We do.
Cool.
We have the
Wow.
internship paperwork. The packet is there.
Great. That sounds awesome. Would you advocate for, one, let's say paid versus unpaid, and then two, credit versus non-credit? For me, I am saying paid and for credit because I think that it ties you in with the university a little bit deeper, and two, it services our students better. But
And it depends. Some students do several internships, and so they may not need to register for credit every time. But definitely that fits in their business electives, so they can do it up to 2 times for 6 hours.
oh, cool.
So some students may start internships their freshman year and do 3 or 4 over the course. Our accounting students typically start as sophomores and continue to work till they're seniors.
Wow.
So, it just depends your major and what's offered. With risk management and insurance, they may do several with different companies. And so that gives a lot of exposure to the different areas of risk management and insurance.
Well, that's perfect. But whenever we look at paid versus unpaid, I mean, just nationally, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, NACE, the one we rely heavily on there for research, they tell you, and through multiple surveys over many years, that a paid internship almost always yields better results. The stark fact is that 75% of our students need to work, and they need to work for money. We've all been feeling it, right? And we have careers, gas prices and general inflation. You just cannot get away from the fact that the dollar is harder to come by. So for students getting paid internships, like why, if you were looking at forming an internship, would you do paid, I guess is the question as an employer, right? What does it yield for students and I guess also retention for your interns?
You can be more selective. But first of all, that we need to realize that if they are bringing value to your organization, then probably legally you should be paying.
Gotcha.
and we do very, very few unpaid internships because the competition's out there. And if you're competing for that, the best talent, you're going to have to pay for that internship. And students, so many of our students cannot leave their part-time job that's helping pay for college to do an internship unless it's paid. And on a side note, I want to talk about what we have in our college that's really benefiting our students. We have an internship support fund. So some of our students would love to go to DC and do an internship, or maybe LA and do an internship. We have a fund through generous donors that will provide help for these students. So it may be that we're helping pay part of their apartment lease or the plane ticket to get out there. And this summer specifically, we have 18 students that we're supporting.
The reality is, right? The reality is going and doing.
And these are all paid internships.
Sure.
But they need a little extra help. The pay's not going to cover 3 months apartment lease.
Whew. That's a lot.
It is when you're doing such a short time.
And there you're talking about access, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's diversity and inclusion at work whenever you're talking about including payment for this kind of stuff.
It gives people an opportunity, students that would not have that opportunity. And we know those are the life-changing experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really can't think of a better way to end it. So again, Dr. Susie Cox with the College of Business and Social Sciences here at ULM. I'm Michael, and thank you guys, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.